Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something sick.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things, of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
I have been having some interesting IFS adventures lately.
Oh.
Gotten to know a number of protectors and stuff better. So that's been good.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah. Kind of, I guess what I've been working on has been sort of to try to get closer to self and be less blended, especially with my main manager. And sort of show love to all my parts.
Mm-hmm.
That can be a bit of a challenge because the manager just gets tries to step back and it's hard for her. She kind of almost doesn't know how to do it. But she's been working on it, working on sort of she's realized now that and I guess I sort of, she's blended right now, so she's basically talking about herself, but
all right. Well, she's doing a great job.
Thank you. She's basically realized that she has to show love to herself if the other parts are going to get helped. So that's some of what I've been trying to work on too.
Okay.
And it's interesting, because she can get places with it, sort of, like with certain phrases, like sometimes I'm, I'm trying my best. I'm not a bad part, but if it goes too far and it's I'm good and I'm great, she just has a hard time with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been having moments where I feel closer to self, that I want to bring it in more.
Okay. Do you want to have a minute of meditation?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. I'll set a timer. All right. This manager, does she have a name? Can you just...
yeah, so I actually I wasn't sure what to call her, and my friend who I like we've been doing some peer work together, like she's been getting into self, like really getting into self at times, and um to the point where it's like she's not blended with anyone else almost, and or not almost, like I've met herself, and it's been really really amazing. And herself was like, I don't know, like I'm just another person, but I was puzzling over what to name this part, and she's like, but you seem like a daughter to me. So I've been calling this part daughter, and maybe someday I'll find out that's not her actual name, but daughter is what we're going with for now.
Yeah. And what's her primary role as manager? How does she manage?
She manages everything. Like she's the one who's always trying to figure it out. She's probably like a gender part and the one who tries, like, and everything, like all rolled into one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I still have Undeserver in there somewhere, and I have a firefighter who I've just been calling the firefighter, who kind of tag teams with her but isn't as active. And the firefighter is kind of like, daughter is always like trying to figure things out and make sure things go okay, like manage. And the firefighter is like, will be the one who's like, no, we're not doing this, or yes, I really want this and I'm going for it, like that kind of thing. And I've been also getting to know that one better and appreciating its good qualities a lot. But yeah.
Okay. All right.
But I think I'd like to work with this manager with daughter, about she's been having like some anxiety about really all different things. Life is just very anxiety inducing.
Yeah. Okay. There were some things that you already said about her or from her that I have questions about. I don't know if I should ask those or if you'd like to just tune in and go your own,
I don't know.
Go with your own. Okay.
You could ask a question and see if it sparks anything.
Okay. One was when you said she has to show love for herself. Like, what do you mean, or why?
So that's sort of the way that she finds that she's able to like knock up against self just a little bit. Like if she can say something like, if she can say something to herself like, I'm not a bad part, or I'm trying my best or something. If she says that and she really believes it, she can kind of feel self there behind her, sort of waiting to get in.
Okay. Okay. But then when it goes to the I'm good, I'm great, then...
Yeah, then it's like she kind of pushes self away again.
Okay.
Inadvertently. Because she doesn't believe it.
Okay. That's my only question.
Yeah.
All right. So how does she show up in your body?
She's tense. She's in my chest, and she feels constricted from the anxiety.
Okay. And right now, how do you feel towards her?
I feel nervous, and I feel worried that... I guess she feels worried that she's going to prevent herself from doing what she needs to do by not being able to let go.
Okay. And what does she believe that she needs to do?
To sort of to step back enough to let self in, and not even to let self into other parts, but even just to let self into her. She's afraid she can't step back enough.
Okay. And I don't know, can you say more about, or can she say more about, like, the concern about?
Yeah, like what she's anxious about.
Yeah.
It's like it's been a variety of things. It's been kind of like one thing after another, and that's really been the case for years and years, honestly. But I don't know, this week, the last few weeks maybe have been maybe especially challenging. And I think she's done a good job of like handling it better than she would have before. But there's just like a lot going on in my life right now. Like there's like some health stuff that's like probably fine but still worrying, and there's like stuff with like my friends a little bit, and there's like getting all my I'm in like school and doing work at the same time and getting all of that done while still having like meals and laundry and some dang free time at the end of the night to just hang out with people. Like, so it's like all of it. Right now, it's probably more the health stuff at the forefront, but it's been a lot of different things.
Okay. So you said like probably fine, but worrying. Okay.
Yeah, like I don't know, there's just a couple different things, and I tend to have some health anxiety like in general, even on a good day. So yeah.
And what is she concerned about? Like, what would happen if she did allow self to have more?
That's a good question. I guess she's maybe worried that an exile would slip out and just make everything explode, and just sort of take control maybe. But I think even more than that, she's worried about right now, like she's worried about like I don't know if there's like a touch of undeserver here, but she's worried that it's not like correct to let self in. It's like not being able to believe that good stuff, etc. Like I guess she's worried she doesn't deserve self in some way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's got my curiosity going.
Good.
How does she feel about being known by me, being known by us in this conversation, and maybe us learning more about not deserving to connect and let self in?
She feels good about that. I think she feels like she really wants to get closer to self. She knows it's the only way to heal. So, yeah.
Okay.
She just wants she just wants help with it and to
Great.
get there.
Yeah. Okay. And so will she allow any distance now or unblending now?
Just a little bit. She'll step back a hair. Yeah.
Okay.
There's like a little bit of room that there wasn't before.
Okay. So she's noticing you there now to a degree?
To a small degree. Yeah, like she can kind of like step back enough to let me just sit here and exist and like, do all the basic like mindfulness things, feel that I'm in the room, feel that I'm sitting on my bed.
Okay. Is there more that she wants us to know or to explore other than what we've already discussed about possible exile overwhelm and the undeserving of letting self in and connecting with self?
She is afraid of exile overwhelm because she knows that parts of me are fearful and she doesn't want that to get out of control and turn into some kind of panic attack or something. But at the same time, she feels like some of the anxiety sometimes is also coming from her.
Yeah. So she's got fear about the fear, basically.
Yeah, so she's not sure if it's the exile who would overwhelm or if it's her who's already sort of overwhelming.
Okay. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And it is normal to have fear in that way, parts.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything else that she wants you to know about her?
She's easily distracted. She tells me like any little thing can come up and then she'll be thinking about that and not thinking about not in the present moment anymore. Like, I have this perpetual issue with like my neighbor smoking and the smoke filling my apartment, and been complaining to the landlord a lot, but it's still a process. So like I smell that right now and it's like distracting me. Like, but it could be anything. Like anything can kind of come up. And if I'm not perfectly comfortable where I am, it's like I get distracted. And I think there's like a more body-oriented part that might be doing that really has trouble getting comfortable. And so when I have a distraction like that, then suddenly it becomes like this manager's job to monitor that situation instead of being in the present moment.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just noticing some language around like when you talked about mindfulness, grounding kind of stuff, and being in the present moment. Does she have a fear about like if you're mindful and in the present moment that you wouldn't attend to something important like smoke filling your room? Or does it feel like a battle, like, well, either I'm mindful and present or I'm focused on these things that matter?
Like just sitting still and being okay with things the way they are is maybe a bit either dangerous for the body part or just sort of like rude to it, maybe ineffective. I've always been really fidgety and always kind of had this thing about like having to be in the exact right position with where I sit. I would freak out as a kid because like the seams on my socks were irritating my toes all the time. So I have some kind of like discontented connection to my body that it's almost like it's like if daughter doesn't manage this, then this body part will just continue squirming and then we won't be able to get anything done regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have just shut my bedroom door firmly and opened my balcony door, so maybe at least the smell will improve.
Yeah. And so how is that now? How's the comfort body part?
Improving a bit. Yeah.
Okay. And I get it. I mean, I'm just checking in with my own right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my ultimate wish is to work with this body part so it doesn't feel so nervous all the time, but I have to go through this manager to do that.
You could try asking the manager how much that would help. Like, because you said the ultimate goal, and I'm just wondering, like, in her mind, how much of it is based on these bodily distractions? Like, if that was solved, how, yeah.
It's a good question. I think it would do a lot to my ability to focus. It wouldn't be the whole picture, but it would do a lot of good.
Okay. And does she see how self might work with a part like that? Does she have any understanding of that or faith in that?
There is a theory which seems to have some personal evidence behind it, because the only way that I can get this body part to calm down sometimes is sort of through meditation and grounding exercises, and not through her intervention. Like, that's how I deal with, like, every now and then I'll feel myself, teetering on the edge of insomnia, and she'll get all worked up about it. And her getting worked up will make things worse. And then finally I'll remember, oh yeah, I've meditated this away before and I can do it again. And then I do that and it gets better instantly.
Yeah.
And so she's noticed that. She's noticed that. And my friend and I, doing our peer work, have both noticed that just connecting to our bodies and having that mindfulness component is a big part of helping yourself get into self.
Yeah. I'm wondering if I totally agree that mindfulness and the grounding can help bring about self. I'm wondering if she believes that, like, that is self, or that that's the only capacity of self. I'm only asking because I feel like that's come up in some of our past conversations, of parts being like, well, self is just a completely neutral,
No, I don't feel that way anymore, because I've seen my friend get, like, fully into self, and it is quite the experience. It's really like there's this person that embodies all 8 of the C's.
Right.
And my friend has no shortage of trauma in her life, and she still manages to be this incredible being that my parts just line up when her self comes out. So yeah, no, I'm not really worried about that anymore. I know self is great.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, seeing the mindfulness, the grounding as kind
it's
of
like the first step, maybe,
a first step,
or one part of it. Yeah.
and it could be considered just more unblending. It's there's parts that are distracting, there's body parts, whatever, and it's kind of unblending from them.
Exactly.
Okay. So where would she or you like for us to focus with her? Like, we could work with the body parts distraction stuff. We could talk about possible, exile, overwhelm. We could talk about her feelings around not deserving.
I think that the feelings about not deserving, I think, are where she wants to go. She wants to get some self for herself, which is another kind of departure from the way it was before, where she was always trying to like delve into other parts and find out their deal and manage them. Now she's trying to get herself healed so that she can be more helpful.
I think that's beautiful. I want that.
Yeah.
I want that for her too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Okay. So how would she feel about sharing more about her experience and just feelings around it not being correct to let self in and not deserving that?
Yeah. So what she can say is that she tries. She does try. She tries very hard, but what she's worried about is that who doesn't try hard? Like um we all try hard to save our own skin. That doesn't make us special or good or compassionate. So she's worried she's just sort of selfish and just her whole existence is just like panicking, trying to manage this and that so that things don't fall apart. And that doesn't really feel like it doesn't really feel like that alone merits her calling herself a good part or some kind of like amazing creature or something.
Mm-hmm. Right. So she's seeing a dilemma in that she doesn't feel comfortable calling herself great and amazing because she would see that as being selfish.
Yeah, she doesn't feel comfortable. She doesn't feel comfortable saying like I love myself or whatever, and she doesn't feel comfortable saying that it's like when she can't love herself, she also can't really love other parts unconditionally either, because like she has the same concerns about them as she has about herself, that they're kind of just selfishly running around doing everything they can to stave off fear. And that doesn't feel particularly good to her. It doesn't feel bad necessarily, but it just feels kind of like, yeah, that's what living things do. It's neither good nor bad. It's just kind of selfish.
And so she's talking about having this responsibility of calling herself good and, validating herself and loving others unconditionally. Yeah. I'm curious where she got that notion that that was her responsibility.
Well, I might be doing a bad job of describing it by using the particular language that I'm using, but she knows that the closest she ever gets to self is when she can have some compassion and some mercy for herself and what she's going through. And she just doesn't have a very easy time accessing that.
Mercy for herself?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What would it be like, just hypothetically, for her to, and I understand, I don't want to dismiss what you're saying about like that's been her way to get close to self, but can she imagine, or what would it be like if she didn't have to do anything and she didn't have to call herself good, but she was recognized as good by self or by another without having to do anything on her
She
from
would
her
like
side?
that. She would like that, but she has tried, and I mean, I'm sure that what you're saying is the way to go, but she doesn't know like literally like how to do that because she's tried like, oh, I'm going to step back now, but she just can't, she doesn't even know what that means to step back.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that she already had some.
Yeah, she's already had some contact with self.
I mean, that she already had stepped back some.
Oh, yeah. She can do it a little bit.
Yeah. And I want her to know that I think she's good.
She appreciates
without
that.
doing anything.
She appreciates that, but it kind of like bounces right off her because she's like, well, you don't know everything about me. You don't know the bad things I've done, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it bounces off her the same way that it bounces off her when she says it to herself.
Right. Does she feel like self knows everything about her, including the quote bad things she's done?
She's not sure, but she thinks since self loves everyone and thinks that every part is a good part, then self's meter of deservingness is probably non-existent, or it's not operating on any of the same principles that she operates on, so she doesn't know how to take it seriously.
I think she might be right about self having, if self is in a place where all parts deserve its attention, then I can see why she might see that as,
yeah, she's like, okay, I'm good enough by self standards, but I'm still not good enough by my own standards.
Okay. Just sitting with that for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I mean, I'd like to know more if she has more she wants to say.
Well, she wants to kind of add that the times that she gets closest to self are not times where she's like, I'm great and I've done great things. Right. It is more of like, it is more of a self-forgiveness, more of like, I'm trying and I can accept my shortcomings and my failures. So
yeah. I feel like that does sound more like a quality of self. Self has more of an acceptance. I was
doing a bad job of describing it.
An acceptance of parts, more than just cheerleading.
Right.
There is that as well, but it is the depth of understanding and seeing all the sides of them and having kind of a deep acceptance of them.
Yeah, she knows that it's not about erasing the things she isn't proud of. It's about like being sort of being okay with them. And that's what she has trouble with, but in the moments where she's able to do it, she feels a weight lifted and she knows it's the right direction.
It still sounds to me like she's talking about herself doing it rather than yourself doing it.
Yeah, because that's the only way she knows to approach self.
Okay.
But it's almost like when she can say it to herself and believe it, that's her letting go a little bit. And it allows self to fill in that space. And then she really starts to feel something. I'm having a hard time describing it, but something happens that's not just her.
How does she feel about go ahead?
It's like this warmth in my chest that I feel, and it starts to sort of like radiate outward. Like it's not something that she's just doing on her own.
Right. How does she feel about
something in?
Like,
sorry, go
how
ahead.
does she feel about the just the curiosity that we're showing about her and her experience?
She feels like she is concerned that it doesn't sound like she's getting closer to self with these things she's doing, but she feels that she is, and she's just maybe not describing it correctly.
With the things that she's doing?
Yeah, like she's afraid that when she talks about forgiving herself or like doing this herself, that she's making it sound like she thinks she can do it alone. But she knows that's not it. It's just the only way she knows how to talk about it. So she's concerned that you don't think she's doing it right.
Well, I appreciate her sharing that with me. Yeah, I don't think parts have to do anything to do it right.
Yeah.
I think that, there is the negotiation of unblending, but it's kind of self's job. Self does the understanding and the accepting of parts. And so
yeah, she's saying that this is the way that she knows best how to unblend a little bit.
Okay, is it working?
It has worked before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit. Not
Okay.
completely. Yeah.
Okay. When it comes to unblending with other parts, do you have other things that you feel like work best for you that you could offer?
Honestly, this manager unblending, she really does need to unblend more. It's worked a little bit, but it hasn't worked all the way, and she's pretty much in front of a lot of the others.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that when she can get out of the way a little bit, and she's noticed this too, which is why she's so intent on working on herself. When she gets out of the way a little bit, the others are often like very, very interested in talking, and
right.
are yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she knows she's kind of a big factor in sort of, she thinks things would be a lot easier if she was better at unblending.
Okay. Well, it's like she was saying, or someone saying about her being in front and also her getting some self for herself. That, the goal isn't just to get her out of the way, just to get to know other parts, but in a conversation like this, where we're focusing on her,
that's true.
That we just want to be able to see her and see her in her separateness from self.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that we can understand kind of all the sides of her and what it's like for her.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my ultimate aim here, is to try to understand what it's like for her, what she needs, who she is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that way, again, like, she can't really do that wrong, other than just, just being honest about how it is for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should just talk about how it is for her. Maybe that'll spark something. Okay.
Yes.
Well, it's been difficult. Life is a challenge. She's always running around putting out fires, and then lately she wonders if she's not the one starting half the fires herself. But that's almost comforting, because if she's starting the fires, then maybe she can stop starting them. But anyway, she's realized that she has been hurting other parts by managing them sometimes. She's been impressed by seeing what the other parts are capable of. But she feels like she has to have this grip on life. And always make sure she figures stuff out, and always make sure she is thinking ahead of what has to be done. And she's just very tense all the time about everything.
I remember her saying something like she feels like she needs to have unconditional love for parts.
Yes, that's true. She does. She feels like she has to love her parts or on of the other parts. See, she thinks they're her parts.
Right. Well, she's been managing them, and so they feel
Yeah.
like they're hers.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
and she also feels the same way about other people. And not even
Yes.
just her friends. She feels that way about every other frickin' person she meets.
Yeah. Yeah. What would she rather be doing with her energy if she didn't have to love other parts and other people and she could just do her own thing?
She would honestly the answer could be deeper than this. This is just the first thing that comes to mind. But she would love to love parts and people and everyone, but like do it according to do it in a really self-led way and not in this way of just making sure things don't break down, but out of genuine inspiration and
So she wants to
compassion.
love other parts in a self-led way.
Yeah.
I have to ask, what's she afraid of happening if she just lets self love other parts?
I don't know.
Just letting self lead.
She honestly doesn't know. She doesn't she doesn't know where self is. She like really like physically doesn't know how to step back. So she's like, where is self? And also I think she's like afraid of self. Oh yeah, okay. She's afraid of self not having the same values and priorities that she does. So she cares about herself and the other parts getting what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And she's afraid that if self comes in, then there are going to be all these things that we'll find out are just like, I don't know, not possible or not worth chasing after. And self will just be like, it's fine. Let's all just relax and be okay with everything that's going on. And I know from experience now that self does care more about parts priorities than that, but it's still kind of hard to let go.
I'd like to understand that better. Especially, you said that if self were to come in and find that something's not possible,
Yeah.
and then was to like accept that and help parts accept that, that she would see that as letting go of what they want.
Yes.
Okay.
And that could be all manner of things. There are all sorts of things that my parts want in life that they're afraid. There are things that they're afraid to accept. Things that are already true, things that could be true. They're afraid of the prospect of accepting. It feels like giving up. And it's almost like it's like if an exile finds out that it can't have what it wants before it's ready to find that out, then it could have some kind of meltdown or something.
Yeah. What do exiles want?
Well, I've definitely met one exile, which I think is very key to all of my systems problems. And this one is, I call it like the suffocation part or the suffocating part. It feels like it's dying, basically. It feels like it's trapped. I've had some experiences as a kid with like being not being in like serious danger, but being like plunged underwater, like at the swimming pool and feeling like I was drowning. Um, and I have a lot of stuff around like, what if I get trapped in this or that situation? I've had it with like I've had it like with romantic relationships a lot, where I'll be dating someone and I'll see like one thing about them that I don't like, and I'll be like, oh my God, what if I marry them and we're together forever and this is never off my mind and I'm trapped? I'm not sure if you've watched Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but there's a
Just
scene
some
where
clips.
Charlie's in like the steam room with Frank and he's like, I'm trapped like a rat, I'm trapped like a rat, and he's like having a panic attack. That's like what this part is doing. It's like so very scared, and it's scared of death and and the and the feeling of dying, because it feels like it already is dying. So yeah, she doesn't want that one to get loose without the proper context.
Okay. Yeah. So the concern is that parts won't get what they want. If self is leading, parts won't get what they want. They'll be told they have to accept things, which means it feels like giving up, and that they won't have the proper context.
Yeah, and some things, if they accept them, if certain things are accepted, like I don't know, like my ex dying, I think, has been one of those things. Or like certain things related to dating have been like this, where I feel like if I accept that this or that is true, then this part will just be like, oh no, I'm dying, my life is ruined, I'll never be happy again. This suffocating exile also gets triggered when when I have those terrible experiences with weed, because it's sort of let out free in the open on a high enough dose of weed.
Okay.
So yeah.
And this part thinks that, again, just the self would kind of push that the parts need to accept something that and would leave them kind of without context and leave them triggered and feeling suffocating, etc.
She thinks that if self really and truly got to this exile, then things would be better and it would be unburdened. And she wants that. But she's afraid of some sort of in-between state where self gets the protectors to loosen up and relax, and then this screaming, crying kid runs out and then self disappears. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I also know how committed you've been to self-work and IFS.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen some truly amazing things that it can do at this point. So I'm all in.
Yeah. And you've done some grief work, I think, from a place of self, which your parts have responded to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they have. I've definitely noticed a difference with the grief. There's still a big chunk of it that's waiting to be resolved, but the stuff that I have resolved has made it a lot easier to live my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of self as giving parts what they actually want and need. And self accepts parts kind of the way they are. So if a part is having trouble accepting something out in the world, self can work with that, because self accepts that way about the part. Yeah. And some parts, especially really, really young ones, they don't want to, or maybe they're not ready to know the truth about everything and everything. Young parts can know what they know, and they can enjoy being young parts, and self can still lead them without taking away Santa Claus or whatever else or whatever else they are into.
In fact, if anything, if anything, the more I learn about self, the more it does feel like Santa Claus is real.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to get close to it myself. Like I've seen it in my friend and it's been amazing. I've seen it in myself too, but not to the
Me
same
too.
degree. And I really want to move closer to it.
Yeah. I've seen it in you too. I've seen you moving closer to it through the, is it years now that we've been working together?
It's at least a year.
Kind of shocking.
Yeah.
And it's true that, we're all on a different, we have different starting places and different journeys and different parts. And some people kind of seem to get lucky in their ability to access that and go to parts, and others have more difficulty with it.
Yeah, my friend said something really interesting to me about that, which I agree with, that from her observation, it's almost harder for me to get closer to self because this manager has created such stability in my life in certain ways that she feels maybe that by stepping back, she potentially has a lot to lose. Like
Absolutely.
I may not be having the best time ever, but I'm also not having, panic attacks regularly. I'm not losing my shit all the time.
Right. Yeah,
and I don't want to lose that.
She's a powerful manager. She's aware of lots of parts. She even has internalized, like, I'm supposed to love everyone, and I'm supposed to be self-led. So yeah, she gets it. She gets kind of how it should work, and has studied the program here.
She really has. And now she's got to let go. Just a little bit.
I wonder, how much letting go would be involved, because again, the parts are there for a good reason and they have really great qualities. And so being self-led doesn't mean taking all the parts and putting them on a shelf. And
no, definitely not.
I only show up as self because I left all my parts at home.
No, this is about her letting go in particular, letting go of the need to manage for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if self really and truly got to exiles, they would be healed and unburdened. But there's this middle phase where she lets go. Self isn't strong enough or persistent enough in the interim, and exiles run amok and cause all kinds of pain in the system.
Yeah, there is that fear, but I think she would really like to just get closer to it herself. Like, yeah, I think she just wants to try to step back, and she just doesn't know exactly how.
I also don't know exactly how. I only just use metaphors. Seeing them through a window, putting them on the other side of a table, step back, step in front. And a lot of them are kind of visuospatial in the kind of a 3D world that I have in my mind that doesn't necessarily map to other people's experiences.
Yeah. Well, maybe she can try that. Like, she's willing to try anything.
Okay. So. How about one of those? Does any of those sound good? And just want to go ahead and try that? Okay.
Yeah. She's open-minded.
Okay.
She's noticing that she feels fear. And she wants to She wants to let self listen to that fear.
Okay, you ready for that?
I think so.
Okay.
She's afraid because just a big change and she doesn't know what's going to happen. She's not used to not knowing what's going to happen.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Me too.
But it's exciting too. And she feels excitement. Yeah. She can kind of feel an ability to step back. And she's saying she just needs to do it in baby steps.
Yes.
Little by little.
What is she feeling from you or self?
She's feeling some openness, like some literal space, like there's some space in my chest that wasn't there before. I can literally kind of feel my heart rate slowing down.
Yeah.
And she's just appreciating, like, she's appreciating what she has in this moment, even though she knows she's not totally unblended. And that's nice for her to be able to appreciate it instead of feeling cheated that she doesn't have more. She just feels kind of grateful.
She's feeling appreciative?
Yeah.
Are you feeling appreciative of her?
It's a good question. I'm not totally feeling still hard to distinguish what's my feeling and what's her feeling at this point.
That's okay.
Yeah. Because she hasn't completely stepped.
It's usually in degrees.
Yeah, for sure. But she's enjoying the feeling of this.
All right. Does it
She's
feel
like,
like more than just meditative mindfulness?
Yeah. It doesn't feel forced, which mindfulness probably shouldn't feel forced either, but it usually does to some degree.
Right, especially if it's just the cure for anxiety or for distraction, right? It's kind of like, I need to go sit down and take some deep breaths because I'm freaking out. Right.
Yeah. It feels like, she's letting herself see that this is a good experience before moving farther back. But she hasn't been disappointed yet. And she's also aware of how much how burdened she is.
Yeah.
And there is a feeling of compassion, whether it's her feeling it or me feeling it. There's a feeling of noticing how burdened she is and how much she has to unload, without feeling like she necessarily deserves to carry it or doesn't deserve to carry it. It's just like, well, it's not really about deserving at all. It just is, and it's something that would be good to let go of.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds kind of like that acceptance from a compassionate place.
Yeah.
It's here's what we're seeing. We're seeing it with some clarity.
Yeah. There's a definition of grace that she's always liked, that she's like, I've never been, not since I was a child anyway, never really been particularly religious, but I heard this minister talk about, this kind of like crunchy new age minister talk about like the concept of grace being something that you get whether or not you deserve it. And she always really liked that concept, but never really knew how to bring it into my life.
Yeah.
And self feels like the answer to that.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's something you get whether or not you deserve it, then she doesn't have to be the one bringing it in.
Yeah, it's true. She's at kind of it feels like she's metaphorically like a few feet away from self now, and it feels really, really nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
There was a big concern about her not knowing how to do it.
And she feels like she does know maybe how she would step farther back. But she's just kind of sitting with this for a second before doing that.
Do we know how she got to this point? If you were going to do this again tomorrow?
I think she does. It's really, and it is really hard to just describe. It really is just kind of a feeling, like muscle memory.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a procedure.
Yeah.
But she feels like the longer she stays with it, the more she'll be able to get back to it.
I think she's right.
And she's still the one narrating now. And she's being farther from self is making her aware that she's the one talking and she's the one kind of just chattering.
Yeah,
and
it's okay.
Yeah. It's just,
I've enjoyed getting to know her.
Yeah. It's like part excitement, part nerves. She wonders what would happen if she were able to quiet down and let self speak. But that's another thing that's hard for her to imagine.
Which, the quieting down or self-speaking?
Both.
Yeah.
But she wants to.
Yeah. Well, again, she doesn't have to imagine self-speaking. She doesn't have to imagine how she's going to be unconditionally loving. Self is the natural remainder when parts are quiet or when parts give space or allow.
Yeah. Yeah, it already does love her.
Right.
She knows that intellectually, and she wants to feel more of it into it.
Yep. Is there any more that would feel right for you and her other than just basically doing this to get that muscle memory?
I think this is it, because now
Mhm.
she's started to quiet down, to stop chattering so much.
Yeah.
So she's maybe on the edge of seeing what that's like. So that's why I'm being quieter.
Yep. Me too. And everything we've done to this point is also the process and the work. So I know that she's, thinking about those future steps and what if I took another step back, etc. But this is that step, or the step that's right for her now, and you can repeat this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, getting to know her has been doing the work. It kind of feels like it's just a very physiological feeling. It's like unmistakable.
Yeah. Okay. So you two feel like you know how to do it tomorrow?
I think so.
Okay. Any questions for me? Any other concerns that we should address now?
I don't think so. I think this has been helpful. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you again. Good luck. Let me know how it
Thank
goes.
you.
I'll be in touch.
Awesome.
Okay.
You have
Good
a
night.
great night. Okay.
Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows? That might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.